Greetings, greetings. Thank you for tuning into Healthy Accord. On this platform, I speak about all things spiritual that I have experienced in this lifetime. And should that interest you, I suggest you subscribe to the platform so that way you are notified of new concepts, ideas, and things from my experience that I shall be speaking on. Healthy Accord speaks to what I have gleaned into to be the agreements that we humans have with the supernatural world, with our ancestors, with our allies in nature, and also our allies that are humans too, and other beings of life. Those are some of the insights that led me to coin this platform to be Healthy Accord. And my experience did show that my experience, observation, and other people's experience, indigenous people specifically, did further hone in on the fact that there is a healthy agreement, there is a healthy accord that exists between we, the human children, our ancestors, the spirit world, the natural world. Today's video, I shall be speaking, well, today's video is specifically titled Free Ways to Gain Insight on Spiritual Journey, Free Ways to Know About what a spiritual journey entails, free ways you can go about gaining different expressions, different flavors into what a spiritual journey entails, what all of that is about. So I shall be breaking it down based on my lived experience in this lifetime and providing you insight on what you will gain if you go through these avenues of discovering and receiving these free ways to know about insights on your spiritual journey. Possibly, I guess, what you can look forward to, what some practice you want to establish now, that sort of thing. And in addition to that, I'll also be sharing insight on some of the specific expertise that you may run into as you choose to go with these suggestions of free ways you can gain insight on your spiritual journey. Now, if you've picked into this platform, Healthy Accord, and if you've seen some of the past videos that I have recorded, you will then know there are paid ways you can gain insight on your spiritual journey. And the main paid way, I would say most effective, is divination. It is a structure, age old technology that we human children have been blessed with by the ancestors. These free ways that I shall be speaking on, I believe, is more so for people that are possibly leaning on skepticism. They're skeptical about what a spiritual journey entails. They may be skeptical about everything that brings, and possibly people who are looking to gather information about their spiritual journey, or people who are looking to gather information about themselves. For example, I myself delved into uh, you know, delve into these free ways because I wanted to gather more information. So, without any further ado, let's jump right in. Free way number one: webinar, video based uh, webinar is the one way I would suggest that you may go about gaining insight on your spiritual journey. The webinars oftentimes are distributed on platforms like your Facebook or Instagram and maybe YouTube. People that host live content. I would say those live content can be sort of a webinar as it is video based. So the webinar avenue is a free way for you to gain insight on your spiritual journey, for you to know what the spiritual journey is about, and possibly some of those webinars may even strive to offer explanation as to the phenomenons you may be experiencing, and or also some of those webinars may offer explanation or suggestions as to how you can cultivate and nurture your craft and nurture your relationship with your ancestors. So I highly recommend the webinar route. Of course, as we are in the digital age, and sometimes the host of said webinar is based in a country not anywhere close to where you are. So there is that benefit for you to gain insight, a wealth of insight from someone from a culture not similar to yours, maybe. And an example of that from lived experience, of course, at the time I was in Pennsylvania, so I was tapping into webinars and ceremonies from a specific shaman based in Ecuador. And of course, I learned a whole lot about myself. I learned a whole lot about the spiritual sensations and phenomenons that were showing up at that time by me tuning into this webinar hosted by this shaman based in Ecuador. That's the beauty of the digital age. I believe it just gives us so much. So, um, now I Okay, so I was going to further elaborate on what you will gain, but I'm going to wait till the next section of this dialogue. The next free way that you can gain insight on your spiritual journey, I would say, is an online event. Typically, these online events, of course, these shamans and priestesses and diviners, they make it so affordable. From my experience, I have paid at most 20 bucks. Oftentimes, they were free, and that's why I'm saying free, because from my lived experience, they just made it free because they want you, our brethren, to have the information. They want you to be aware of your ancestor and ways, well, ancestors, plural, and ways that ancestors speak to us throughout the daytime and the nighttime. So these shamans and priestesses, they create these online events free because they want you to engage with this information, receive this information. So online event is the other free way for you to gain insight about the spiritual journey, know what it is, and understand the different expressions that you may be engaging with. Now, I also want to mention that with these webinars and online events, some of these priestess, orishas, and shaman, they may advise to you, they may suggest for you to donate. Some of them make their access donation based, leaving it up to you, your goodwill. And also, I have my notes here, and the intention for this non, I guess, clearly, I am not presenting like the other YouTubers that you're familiar with. I'm wanting to be as pure with the information as possible and just allow it to flow. So I'm looking at my notes to just tell you. Now, I also want to suggest that another way for you to glean into what spiritual journey is, or what you, I don't want to say what to expect because um well, it's not that way. I sat in on some ceremonies. I attended a lot of webinars and seminars. I did not attend those events to expect certain performance from spirit. I did not sit in there to expect certain theatrical performance from ancestors. I sat in on those ceremonies and webinars specifically to gather information about myself. And I really want to drive that home. God, if you choose to be serious about strengthening your relationship with your ancestors, these free ways for you to gain insight on your spiritual journey will prove to be very valuable and supportive to you. I was gathering information about myself. There were sensations and phenomenons, specifically dream based and daytime based, that I just didn't have explanation for. And I also did not trust the Google explanation and the article's explanation that came with it. Oftentimes, those articles, they created more of a vexation, anger in me because they were just so off and they were trying to sell me a product. They were trying to get me to read their 5 pages worth of content on their blog website. And I'm like, no, that's not it. I need and want explanation. I want support. So these um, free webinars, these free online events, or even the paid ones, I was willing to sit there because it gave me information about myself. It gave me insight to go and further research. And as I researched about those phenomenons, I learned more about myself. And as I learned about myself, I learned about ways that ancestors were trying to communicate with me on a regular basis back then. So, um, now, another point that I want to drive home, what you really ought to expect to gain from these free insights via these online webinars and seminars and events from shamans and priestess and the various spiritual doctors that shall be hosting them, you can expect to gain discernment. Of course, in addition to you learning about your spiritual journey, you can expect to gain discernment for sure because it teaches you who's who. And when I say who's who, that applies to, of course, the host. You know, of course, I spoke about spiritual doctors and their various personality. With discernment, as you sit in on these online events and webinars, you will be able to pick into your spiritual communication. We call it our BS detector. Your gut speaks to you, your heart speaks to you. Various places that our ancestors strive to speak to us. As you sit in on these events, you will be able to feel into the sensation. Is my gut tight right now? Why is my body responding this way? And oftentimes, as your body is responding, as you sit in on those webinars and online events hosted by shamans and priestesses, your body's speaking to you based on oftentimes what they are communicating to you. And of course, if you like the shaman or the priestess vibe, well, there's that for you. If you don't like their vibe, then discernment will further guide you to pay attention into what don't you like, you know? So for me, I was able to witness myself in those events and just learn the communication that is our body system, our body technology, and the ways that the body speak. So thankfully, those years of doing those or the years of attending those free events, I was able to get acquainted more with discernment, get acquainted more with discernment. Now, another area that I want to speak on is, well, how do you encounter these webinars, online events hosted by the priestess and shamans for you to know more about your spiritual journey? Facebook, Instagram, as I mentioned, YouTube, as I mentioned. These places, I'm not on Facebook like that. I have a fake account there, and Instagram, I too have a fake account there. YouTube, I'm a creator here on YouTube talking about spirit, talking about ancestors. So I do not have any particular priestess or shaman to suggest to you, and that's because in this day and age, we ought to be nurturing and practicing discernment. So, in that light, I shall not suggest any name to you. I know of these shamans, I know of these priestesses, I know their names, but I shall not mention those names because as you venture on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, you ought to be working that muscle, strengthening that discernment muscle. I'll leave it there. Now, the next section of what I want to speak on as to what you will gain, I've already mentioned that briefly. Discernment is what you can expect to gain. Um, Another gain from engaging with these free insights from these spiritual doctors, you can expect to gain information that you already know. So let's say, for example, the priestess or shaman is teaching on a particular topic about ancestor technology. You can expect that your body, your heart, your gut will likely confirm to you, well, I already know this. And say, for example, you are engaging with that knowledge already through your day to day practice, whether it is meditation, whether it is song, whether it is drawing, or another form of artistic medium, you can expect that by you sitting in on these free events hosted by shamans and priestesses, you will then be able to confirm, oh, okay, I am on the right path. This activity that I'm doing is already helping me nurture my relationship with ancestors and nurture my growth on the spiritual journey path. So your gut will be able to tell you also. Now, I made a note here. What you can expect to gain is that your bodily communication will communicate to you if you ought to be there. For example, I went on, of course, purchasing a program that was taught and shared by this Ecuadorian shaman, specifically as it applies to dreams. Because on my spiritual journey, dreams were just, well, they were lively then, they're lively now. But that was the one of the ways that ancestors were communicating to me. So, of course, thankfully, this shaman offered a dream program. Typically, I believe it was for either 2 weeks or a month. And I went ahead and jumped at it because, of course, that was relevant on my journey then. And I wanted very much to understand what the symbols meant that ancestors were communicating to me in the dream and exactly what they were saying. So um, I say that to say your gut will tell you what's applicable to you. So your heart will also convey to you um, if you are meant to be there and if you ought to trust the information that's being given to you. So you do want to pay attention to your body communication. Now, I also want to share that what you can gain is the various practitioners. Yes, that's a proper word also. The various practitioners that you will encounter on your spiritual journey, whether you are a skeptic or a avid dabbler and you just want to learn more, you can you will be able to know who is respectful towards spirit and ancestors. I had to put that here because, of course, I don't have any memory that's sticking out to me grandly about which practitioner wasn't respectful. But as I sat in ceremonies, as I sat in group ceremonies, group spaces where we, the recipients of this information that the practitioner was teaching, I was able to witness my brothers and sisters, humankind, how they spoke about spirit, what their honest expression was, what their honest feedback was. And, some things that were said, yes, of course, I would say I how I reacted, I think what the person had said was disrespectful. I'm not saying that the shaman or the priestess were disrespectful to spirit. I'm saying when those practitioners open the floor for the human person to say, something, sometimes how that came off, my bodily reaction towards it was very there was a recoil there. There was a tightening in my stomach. There was a tightening somewhere. So, you know, all of that was very helpful. I cannot stress how helpful that is to encounter these different energies because it taught me about myself too. When I go to engage with people, what energy am I carrying? How is my energy like with individuals, especially how I am reacting to this person's energy right now as they're conveying that with such passion, with such intensity. So that taught me about myself. Oh, I reacted to that in that way. Okay. So you can absolutely look forward to um, gaining that insight. And those insights, super, super important. I will say that insight is important because, as you will hear practitioners say, as above, so below, as above, so below. So, in the daylight, as I'm engaging with my human brethren in this ceremony and that person is speaking passionately and the energy that I'm getting there is so intense, if I pay attention to how my bodily system is able to catch that, then when I go into meditation, should there be any other energy or entity that tries to come and interfere, then already I have the experience of discerning. I have the experience of trusting my body to pick up on when it is uncomfortable about certain energy or entity that may want to try to come through, you know? So it is super helpful to be able to witness us humans, especially when we when we show up to the events that these priestess and shamans hold, how we how we speak about spirit, how we speak about ancestor. You know, I'm not knocking anyone lived experience, or I'm not shutting any of that down at all. I'm just saying, you, the person that's there to gather information about yourself, you want to pay attention to your integral system, to your integrated system. You want to pay attention to you first and foremost, and less about, you know, well, how they are being, I guess. So, yeah, it shows you who is respectful towards spirit, it shows you who is respectful towards ancestor. And it also shows you who is just there to kick cans around, who is just there to um, waste time. Yeah, I will speak honestly in that light. Who is just there to waste time? Who is just there to goof around? You know, it will show you that. And more so, that adds towards you strengthening your discernment muscle. Next, what you can gain from these free insights that shamans and priestess will present, what you can gain from these ways is you will be able to see and hear how persons walk with their spiritual gifts. I am so grateful to the many priestesses, specifically priestesses held these online events, and I was able to witness how other persons walk with their spiritual gifts. It will surprise you. Not many individuals who are gifted to be diviners, or the various licenses that their ancestors give them to walk with spiritual gift, not many of them engage with it by taking on clients, is what I'm trying to say. They do not, not many of them go the route by taking on clients. Some of them will go through the herbalist route by, you know, getting steeped in the plant medicine, and then they will open their plant shop to sell you teas, to sell you balms and salves and other herbs and other, you know, things. Some of them go the route of jewelry making to further use their gift of priestessing and shamanism and channel it through creating jewelry, you know, of gemstone. And some of them do so in the beauty route by creating, you know, things like hats for you to wear. And I have more here. Yes, some of them have their botanical shops. It was just beautiful to witness this because, like I said, I sat in on these free insights about spiritual journey because I wanted to learn about myself. Ancestors were doing beautiful things around me, and I was just sitting by. I'm like, I hear you. I just don't know what all of this means. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. And the free events that the shamans and priestess hosted, where they usher in practitioners Some of these practitioners were husband and wife. Some of these practitioners were just regular people like myself. I'm a regular person, and these regular people came in as guests, um, and they spoke on how they use their gifts and talents in their botanical shop products. They weave it in there when they make incense or when they create specific bundles. And they spoke on how, you know, one can use those items for clearing and healing. Some of them actually presented on Reiki. They use their gifts through Reiki, and some of them use their gifts of priestessing through the midwife channel, and then some of them use their gifts through the divination channel, through the birth chart reading astrology channel, uh, more so specifically shamanic astrology, because I believe the birth chart reading applies to shamanic astrology. And some of them also use their gifts, not by taking on clients one on one, but they become a spokesperson for and on behalf of ancestors. They go the spokesperson's route. They teach about spirit, they teach about freedom, they teach about aligning with ancestors. And currently, right now, I believe my teachings that I'm doing is more so with the spokesperson route, as I am not there yet applying my priestessing towards one-on-one uh, client meets. I'm not there yet, so I accept my place right now, going through the teaching route and the spokesperson route. So the many specialties that I have just listed, it was a confetti rainbow beautifulness to me back then. This was around 2018, 2019, when I sat in on these free seminars and webinars. It was a beautiful options to me, because then and now I just saw the many possibilities. I was not ashamed of it. I was just so excited. I was like, oh, okay, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And more so, I want to do this, because these plentiful of options and plentiful of creative, dignifying ways, all of them dignifying ways that I can walk with spirit. Yes, I accept. I accept. I want to know more. I want to hear from my ancestors. And the journey has just been so amazing and supportive towards my growth. So I'll leave it there. To close, the free ways for you to gain insight on your spiritual journey, to know what it is about, is by attending webinars, online events hosted by priestess, shamans, and other spiritual practitioners. You can expect to gain an array of um, supportive strengths on your spiritual journey, mainly discernment, mainly strengthening your internal communication that you receive. And also, you can expect to gain examples, real life examples of what the journey is, especially from people who've walked the path 10 plus years. I hope this video is supportive to you on your journey, if you are a skeptic or if you are a new beginner. That's who this video is applicable to. The skeptics, the people that they want to be able to touch it and see it when it comes to spirituality. I encourage you to dabble here. Try these routes. They're free, most of them. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Bye bye.